In a world where A-Dub and E-Ray have left their mics, a man emerges from Bill and Ted's phone booth that also kind of looks like a DeLorean to give the people what they didn't even know they needed. He captivates the masses with his stories of quantum leaping from one wrestling era to another, comparing and contrasting the wrestling world of old with the wrestling world of today in only the way he can. Ladies and gentlemen, Let Me Book the Territory proudly presents The B.A. Show, featuring Sean from Fourth Rope Wrestling, powered by the Embrace the Turn Up Network.
Hey, yo, this is episode 10 of The B.A. Show. Somehow I'm still able to get my voice up there. Yes, it is I, B.A.D.V.I.C., a.k.a. Black IRS, a.k.a. the B for the East, B.A. Bigelow, in the building. Just had to say that because I'm just getting back in present time from Detroit, from good old SummerSlam 2023. But hey, you know how it is. We still, even though we still having fun and kicking it, still got to get back in the DeLorean. Linked up with the homie, as you know, he is the producer of this show. He is the wise man. He is also known this evening as Glocky Dangerously. Love that shit. He's here. It's John. Tell the people what up, Brody.
Man, not much. And you know, I'm gonna have to strong arm some shit today because it sounds like SummerSlam done got your voice toe up. But understandable because it sounded like it was a live ass event.
To say the least.
Today we are out of that lovely symphony of SummerSlams. All of that's behind us. We got something that smells a little more. Ugh.
Rotten?
A little rotten.
Somebody left out the ribs for entirely too long. Unrefrigerated for days. Yes. Only thing that could be compared to such a ratchet smell would have to be from such a ratchet, terrible wrestling period in time. That is the era of the post-2000 WCW. Specifically, this episode 10 of the BA Show, we'll be reviewing none other than the infamous / famous New Blood Rising. Yes, this pay-per-view was their August edition. Felt like it was a good time to bring that up, even though my co-host and I didn't even discuss that as I look at the date of this pay-per-view. So, hey, look at that. Call that long-term booking, folks.
Exactly, look at that.
So, with all that said, this took place in Vancouver, British Columbia, not in the States, over in Canadian land. Almost went cross-eyed. That's one note. The video package that opened this show literally almost gave me a seizure. My eyes crossed. I thought I needed to take my contacts out. I forgot they were already out. I was glad I was sitting down, man. So that's how this shit show starts. Thoughts on what do you even recall seeing it? I hope you were walking around doing other stuff.
No, I've sat down and watched this pay-per-view numerous times, and the different light works and effects and shit over everything.
God, dude, screams early 2000s.
Yeah, bro, screams it.
I have to make a comment. Like back in the day, they used to have like DVD. Like this whole thing, you know about DVDs, but those younger than you, there's things called DVDs. Yeah, they're Blu-rays now. It's more similar to that. But anyways, they have these menus, right? So DVDs, I always laugh because the way like it was so intense when like a DVD would come on, like now DVD video, Jurassic Park, Mission Impossible, like. That's like what I like all that ridiculous extra ass, like just graphics that nobody asked for or needed and probably wish they didn't see. when I see stuff like that. Is that type of like those ridiculous just opening the trailers to trailers for DVDs and movies.
And the fact that it's on a 2000s pay-per-view tells you how fucking outdated that shit is.
Oh, man, such a gross, just dastardly time frame. I was in middle school, an awkward period just in general in life, and I associate that with this type of stuff. And yeah, gross is all I can say. Very much like a lot of the things that took place on this show. Number one, reason why, in my opinion, before we get into the card, why this show is just so infamously bad is because we have the king of Crash TV. Yes, Crash TV, folks. His name is Vince Russo. If we're listening to this when this episode's released, there was recently an episode of Dark Side of the Ring released, talking about kind of the beginning of his era in WCW. Not exactly here. Here, things have allegedly been, quote, amended between parting factions within WCW booking. That's Vince Russo, who I stated already, and the former Eric Bischoff, who lost the first battle, I guess, as we learned in that episode of Dark Side of the Ring. So again, that was more the reason I thought this would be a good time to bring this up. Dark Side of the Ring's rolling some very good episodes this season. Season 4, I believe we are in on that show, and somehow they're still telling stories and about guys that I thought I knew everything about, and there's always a couple things where I'm like, God damn, like shit, Bam Bam Bigelow was a great dad, or that type of stuff, like from his episode to see. So to bring it to this, and we were kind of talking pre-pod, Sean, about just the episode around the Bash at the Beach episode of 2000, and then you get Blood Rising, literally the month after that. So with all that being said, like, did you feel like they didn't let that episode breathe at all? Because that was like the least amount of like this type of wrestling content, like end of Monday Night War era wrestling stuff discussed.
Bro, if you could go the full length of talking about everything that was involved with that pay-per-view, it would have to be a docu-series. That's not something for one episode. So that's why everything felt rushed, crammed together, because they had to choose what the fuck they wanted to go into, full detail with, and what they wanted to say 2 sentences about and then get to the next subject. So
makes sense. Because I was just, that's so uncanny of that whole, everybody loves rehashing the Monday Night Wars, and like it was 10 episodes into this show. We've already had an episode about that era. So just tells you it's such a fun, polarizing thing to discuss, whether you were watching it live at the time or if you know about it and a astute person about that era of time. So this pay-per-view, we thought it'd be a good time to review it. Absolute chaos throughout this whole card. And I'm being as kind as I can when I say chaos. To start off the card, Jesus. We have a gold record / recording contract ladder match, 3-man tag. Yeah, also all of that happened. They haven't even announced who's participating in it. You have 3 Count, who is Sugar Shane Helms before he becomes Hurricane Helms. I believe Shannon Moore was the other gentleman, and Evan Courageous. All great workers, by the way, ironically enough. You could argue some of these guys, like these guys have all had great eras of wrestling. I don't know. Sean may disagree with that. I think he's going to be talking about Shannon Moore. I just have a feeling about that because I have jokes about him. But anyway, they're wrestling Young Dragons with the J. Young Dragons. First thing that shoots off to me about this match, Sean, outside of just the ridiculous concept of this gimmick match. By the way, 90% of the matches you'll hear about this evening, folks, have some sort of ridiculous gimmick involved. So I apologize in advance if that's not your thing, because it's not mine. And the first thing that jumps off is Tank Abbott. What the fuck? Why? What?
I don't know who the fuck that even is.
Oh, I know who Tank Abbott is.
Who? No, you got to think, Tank man.
Abbott literally almost killed a guy in a WCW ring. As I looked this up real quick here, Tank Abbott was in a match involving some scissors or a knife And what he was doing in said match was he was about to like go a little too hard and was going a little too rough, and they kind of cut away at the end of the match.
Okay.
And I feel like it was around this era of time. But Tank Abbott was a shoot fighter. What he's famous for? He's a mixed martial artist. He was on a show called The Ultimate Fighter. I don't know if you remember that. He was on the early seasons of it. He fought in UFC. And this is, I believe, this is after his WCW career. So Tank Abbott was, I say this all to say, like, this is a tough motherfucker. Doing this gimmick, doing this stuff. And as far as what he did there with this knife, he pulled a knife to Big Al was the wrestler. And he said he was going to fucking kill him on TV. And Tony Schiavone like cut away. So that happened. And that's what Tank Abbott is for in WCW, folks. Look it up if you want to see it.
New Jack did it better, but it's whatever.
Agreed, because we saw New Jack do it. And WCW cut away so fast, you don't even really know what's happening until you go back and watch it.
ECW zoomed in.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for real. Magnifying glass, bro.
Oh, my God.
So, yeah, man. So that's the first thing that jumps off of that to me. That's why I was like, what the fuck is Tank Abbott doing in this weird thing? So, yeah, tell me your thoughts. What's the first thing that jumped off to you in this match?
The first thing that jumped off to me was the shitty dance routine at the fucking beginning. That's the first thing that jumped off to me.
Let me enlighten you. Do you know why this is so like a gimmick in this match? Because
because let's
go back in the time machine.
I know who Shannon Moore is because of TNA. I know him as Jeff Hardy's stoner friend. That's with the spikes and shit. Like that's what I know Shannon Moore as. So,
I was gonna say yes. That's what he's famous for to me too. Yes,
exactly. So that's what I know Shannon Moore for. Was his TNA, and then his brief run on SmackDown in WW. I think it was F at the time. It might have been E. I think it was 2002. It was like 02 or 03 or something like that. Yeah. But that's what I remember Shannon Moore for. Anything other than that, I had no clue. And you're going to see this as constant with me throughout this pay-per-view. I had no clue some of these dudes even came from WCW, bro. Like, just in this match, Shannon Moore, I knew Shane Helms. I have no clue who the Young Dragons are. Tank Abbott
I was trying to figure that out.
Tank Abbott was a complete like fucking curveball to me viewing this shit, because I'm just like, what is this terrible gimmick? Who is this guy on the mic? Why is there a ladder match for a record and a contract? Why do these Asian dudes want it? Like, I just couldn't understand any of it.
Yeah, and I didn't even mention that Tank Abbott's nipples were out on his shirt.
Oh, they made a comment about that. Why? Okay, God cut out the circles on that shirt? Yeah.
God, is ridiculous across the board. So, like I said, they have this match. It's a match. It's a ladder match. There's some real dangerous spots in this ladder match. There's a particular spot where fucking I believe it was Jeff Hardy's stoner cousin Shannon Moore that catapulted into the ladder and like had it flip up and hit somebody on the Young Dragon's face. And it looked like, I didn't replay it or nothing, but it sounded and looked like he really fucked him up. Like, so that happened, a couple botched slams, but it was a ladder match. Stupid. Young Dragons won. At one point in the match, the gold record flies into Tank Abbott's hands, literally flew into his hands.
And he caught it, yeah.
Yeah, so I don't think he was involved in the match, so the match didn't end. I was wondering like why it didn't end. I'm assuming because he's not involved, it didn't matter. But then Young Dragons obtain the fucking record. So yay, I guess. Sure.
Who cares?
Thank you.
I mean, I've never heard of these 3 count. Like,
they're okay. Oh, thank you. Brought me back to my point. So this is so Crash TV, right? So in the early 2000s, the boy band craze was all the rage, Sean. All the rage. So you had the Backstreet Boys,
NSYNC,
and even MTV had I think funny, and I think some of us who know about this time frame would agree, it had like a spoof boy band reality show, but scripted, called Together, with the number 2, then a plus sign, and then GETHER. And they had like an old guy in the group, like in these like oddballs, but they were doing stuff and making songs like 3 count, like terrible sounding songs. I don't know if you ever heard the song, I Know My Calculus. It says U plus B equals us. Yes, they made that song. I can't believe I just sung that on the wrestling podcast. I hate you, Vince Russo. This is all your fucking fun. So, with all that being said, I did not think that was going to happen this evening. That's why Vince Russo leaned into 3 count, because of the boy band craze. So to make fun of it, and then even more so make fun of it by having Tank Abbott be their manager. So that's where that comes from. Young Dragons, that's just racist shit that you see all throughout this card. This is just the first of it. So nothing to explain there, but just, hey, white guys running wrestling.
I just wanted to make sure, because there are some legit talents like that, and I just didn't know if this is one of those throwaway bullshit gimmicks or what was going on here. Because they're another great wrestler of Asian or background in the next match is so I just didn't know. I had to see.
Yes. So there's nothing left to say about this awful opening match. There's one more thing. I wanted to ask. I was trying to figure out if Jimmy Wang Yang was one of the 3 members of Young Dragons. Is that racist or no?
How soon did you come to that conclusion? You thought it was Jimmy Wang Yang?
This is number 3 of 4 watches of this godforsaken pay-per-view. I was watching it and there was a kid in there and I couldn't hear if they said his name or they called him like Jimmy Wang Jang. I was like, huh? It could have been the weed talking. I don't know. But I was like, I'm going to ask Shout on the show. This Jimmy Wang Yang, infamous from the episode, I believe 2 of the BA show, 2007 Night of Champions. And
no, you're not racist because it is Jimmy Wang Yang.
Nuh-uh, really?
And you know who Jamie's son is?
No idea.
Jamie Noble.
Oh, that tracks because of the mask, and he kind of wrestles like him. That tracks.
So Yoon Yang is Jimmy Wang Yang, and Jamie's son is Jamie Noble, and then Kaz Hayashi is Kazuhi Yahashi, something like that. But all Japan,
I remember. Yeah, I know who you're talking about. I wish I could say his name.
Yes, he's all
and I'm not
Japan.
going to try to do it again because I'm sure it's going to sound even
We're going to fucking botch it. Don't even worry about it.
Exactly.
But yeah, absolutely. So you got to think about this shit. Out of the people that I've seen in this match, Yoon Yang I knew as Jimmy Wang Yang.
Okay.
Jamie's son I knew as Jamie Noble, the white trash, wrestler with a mid-card title, whoring out his girl.
The senior cuck, yes.
Shannon Moore, Jeff Hardy's stoner friend, and Shane Helms as the Hurricane.
Got it, Jeff.
It's totally weird seeing all these dudes like wrestle this way.
Yeah, I guess who would have thought? I didn't think we were gonna break this shit down to that level. Yeah, I'm glad I asked because I thought that seriously, I thought that was Jimmy Wang Yang. I thought they said that.
Imagine it in those gimmicks, this match, and it makes it a whole lot weirder.
Wow. Mind blown, folks. Jesus. Definitely moving on. We get a promo with the Filthy Animals. I've said it on some Let Me Book the Territory episodes. Not a fan of maskless, childish looking Ray. I know it's fun to see Ray without his mask on. It's just hard. It's even harder to buy Ray without the mask. Man, that's any sort of threat to anything. I'm glad that this is a very temporary dark period in his career that we don't really talk about often, but we saw it. It happened.
Why is it a dark period?
Why did it have to happen, Sean? I know, I know others like this, but I hated it. Why?
It was a Vince Russo thing, man.
Fair enough. Yeah,
it was a Vince Russo thing, and it gave some freshness to Rey Mysterio. Because you got to think, at the same time, if Rey Mysterio stuck to what he always did, would he have been featured in this WCW?
I can't argue with that, man. That's a very good point. And the fact that he brought in some freshness and They don't, and they get to actually be more involved on the card, because before this, the highest point you saw them was the mid card of a pay-per-view as far as the cruiserweights. So I have to think about where they're coming from, and then also the other parties involved in the Filthy Animals. You got Conan, who's kind of like the leader. He was one of the head honchos of the NWO Wolfpack.
Mm-hmm. Juventud.
Yep, Hoovy, and you got fucking Disco Inferno.
Glenn Gilberti. I will never call this man Disco Inferno. That is Glenn Gilberti.
I respect the Disco Inferno gimmick more than when he started acting like this. This is the Disco I hated. I was just like, bro, you are not any culture in you whatsoever. This is not
How the
okay.
fuck did he start with the Filthy Animals anyway?
I don't know. I wasn't watching enough to
Now
care
that we're
at this
talking about
time.
it, like when I was watching the pay-per-view, I wasn't even interested in it. But now that I'm thinking about it, how the fuck did he get with Ray, Conan, and Hoovy?
Cause he was, as you saw, and like in these, a lot of the stuff from this era, Disco was always the butt of everything they were doing. Like even in this match that they about to have later on, where they're the whole entire stable is the special guest referee in an entirely overbooked fatal 4-way tag team match. Disco's doing all the hard work. He's the only one reffing. Everybody else is chilling. Like Conan's making jokes on commentary. Hoovy
We gotta wait till we get there.
Okay,
Wait till we get there.
See, man. So I'll keep it where we at. This fucking promo. Got the GM Ernest the Cat. One of my favorite things of this era. One of the only things I only like when they had the cat on TV.
GM Ernest the Cat Miller.
Yes. Somebody call my mama. He's ridiculous. So this whole little engagement and also racist jokes being thrown around in here towards Latinos. Gotta love it / don't.
He called that man Little Richard.
Yes.
He said, calm down, Little Richard. Shit.
So you get that. Not really a lot more to add here. Anything to add from the promo that I haven't really got into?
It was just a funny exchange between everybody. Conan is like a fucking comedic genius behind on promos and shit like that. And you're gonna see it into, this promo and then the match where they're special guest referees and all that shit. Fucking hilarious. Nothing really else to add.
Yeah, I have to agree. You do see Conan sporting his comedic chops more than he ever did when he was in the Wolfpack. He was just always this la viva la raza, just tough guy. So he's definitely flexing the chops a little bit with the comedy. So we go into, speaking of the cat, random match with the Great Muta, legend in my eyes. Love the Great Muta. Still do love the Great Muta. This card, I have no idea why he's here or why he's doing this. I hope the check is good enough, right? Great Muta, because you should be in Japan where they at least respect you and would not subject you to this, whatever the fuck they have you in this card for. So luckily they didn't have him do anything ridiculous. He's just wrestling. Wrestles the cat.
Yeah, at the same time, it made me forget that Muta was a legend wrestling the cat in this match.
See? That's egregious enough.
It's bad because I know who Muta is. It's just like seeing him
hurts.
Just fucking hit down to wrestling Ernest the Cat Miller and then making him go over Ernest. Like what?
Yeah.
Like
and not only just that, the fucking theme music. Like I know it has nothing to do with the live crowd or the live show, but from God's ears to my goddamn iPad watching this TV, this show, I cannot stand that. It does not sound real. It has nothing like that is really happening at this show. It's just like, don't play anything. Give them no theme music. Just have them walk out to nothing. And it shouldn't bother me as much. I don't know, but it irks me when that kind of shit happens, bro. And then I don't even know if Great Muta's music was real. I think his is real. It's just the racist ding, 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 like WCW music they would play. But it sounds awful too. But yeah, man, that shit, it boils my fucking stomach when I hate. Like I literally, like, here is my notes. Oh man, I am so mad listening to this Ernest the Cat Miller music. What in the entire fuck? This great muted music, so fucking racist. Match hasn't even started yet, and I am so fucking angry. That is my note I wrote down.
Great assessment. I love it. Great assessment.
And the bell hasn't even rung yet, Sean. I'm already this.
I was already out when we were going over this and deciding to do this for the pod. When I read Ernest the Cat Miller versus Great Muta, I was already out. So I had mentally checked out from the time this match was on.
Mama.
Somebody call my mama. Yeah, I'm good, bro. I am good on that. And then when I actually experienced the match, the first time experiencing Ernest the Cat Miller go over cleanly on the Great Muta in a WCW pay-per-view booked by Vince Russo in the year of 2000 is truly an experience that'll change your viewpoint of wrestling booked by this man.
It's the most disrespectful way to do legends, and it's just and people wonder why Vince Russo has why people cannot stand what he's done to wrestling, and he so does not see a problem with it. And we'll get into it at the end of the show because I got a whole just Vince Russo discussion to have. I won't get there now. I'll keep it to the match. They get in the ring. There's no explanation why they're fighting. I went to look up a little bit as to what happened to get them here because we went straight from the Filthy Animals promo with the cat to this. Literally no reason. There's just match 2 on the card. Sure.
They tried to tie it in with the tag team match and him getting the belts back and then them guaranteeing a win. They tried to tie it in, but there's no reasoning for it. It's just randomly booked match.
It wasn't a bad match though, in all honesty. But to your point, it was very forgettable. It was just is what it is. For all things considered, you get Tigress walking down to the mat or to the ring. Mark Madden making very problematic statements the whole time, trying to do his best Jerry the King Lawler impression and failing miserably with each inappropriate quote and or wolf. Specifically, whatever she's doing, I like it like that. That's what he kept saying 4 times. And then from there, you get the cat wins the match with the feliner, which is essentially a Harlem Hangover with his ankle. And he had the goddamn nerve on Great Muta to not only just go over, but do a split as he got up.
Hit the splits on him.
And then the fucking shimmy to go out to fucking commentary and hearing the commentators talk, man. Anything else to add to this fucking tragedy done to the Great Muta?
The fact that you thought it was a decent match?
It wasn't. It was. I didn't see anything that bad with it. The definition of is what it is. I guess
because I'm viewing it from.
You're expecting Sting and Great Muta type of action in there because Great Muta.
No, not from the Ernest the Cat Miller. Oh God, no! I'm just saying, why is Muta stooped down this low? Let's really chew on this one. Let's think about this. So, as we talk about the Great Muta's place in year 2000 in wrestling, and Ernest the Cat Miller, I think this is probably his 3rd year in WCW, maybe being very generous, probably 2nd. Maybe.
And, Great Muta has been wrestling at this point probably for 2 decades, almost at that point. So I think this was a doing the job type of deal in Vince Russo's wild, some would argue drug-fueled eyes that he was on during this time period of booking. It was insanity. To your point, why put over the cat? What does the cat get from the Great Muta laying on his back for him?
What do either of these dudes get?
Nothing.
It's a weird match. If Muta wins, it's just okay, he beat Ernest the Cat Miller. And if Ernest the Cat Miller wins, it's why the fuck did he just beat the Great Muta? And then go on to be a general manager and, shimmy to James Brown. I
have no fucking idea.
Speaking of that, we got to keep a top 3 list. of worst themes on this show that we've reviewed. So far, in my opinion, we got Conway, Owen Hart, and Ernest the Cat Miller. Those are my three. Rob Conway, Owen Hart, and Ernest the Cat Miller have
what
the
episode
worst
was
theme.
Ron Conway's music?
Shit. I can't remember. We either talked about it or we was on it. I can't remember.
All right. Fair enough. Right now, this Ernest the Cat Miller, because we're here in the moment, is number one most egregious thing that's been played on the network. I'm sure if we watch an ECW show, that opinion will change if we have to be subjected to the Peacock, because there's some terrible shit on those shows too. But yes, Owen Hart's. And are you talking about his King of Hearts theme? You're talking about that Crash bullshit. That
yes, yes, that shit.
like
sound effects, bro.
Essentially, like that nigga from Police Academy that made all the sound effects. Right.
Exactly.
I think his name's Michael Winslow or some shit. Yes, Michael Winslow ass theme music. So yes, if there's nothing else further to say about the cat going over on the Legend of the Great Muta,
My favorite match of the card.
we pan now to Buff Bagwell walking around the bowels of the arena screaming, "Ma! Ma!" So that must mean one thing, folks. Probably the most infamous match on this card. One I got a ton of fucking questions about, because I can feel my blood pressure rising as I bring this match up. Whew. 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3. Whew. Calm down, BA.
Woosah.
It is just wrestling. Judy Bagwell on a pole, now a forklift match against Positively Canyon versus Buff Bagwell. So the only thing I know about this match is, for some odd, sick, weird reason, the way they were booking Kane was real weird in this era of WCW.
Exactly.
Taking over DDP's identity. DDP's nowhere to be found. Speaking of terrible music, they playing the terrible DDP Nirvana / not Nirvana music, which also nails on the chalkboard to me. So he's fighting for Judy Bagwell to be his valet, basically, which is very questionable, to put it as kindly and as PG as I can. Because I got some questions and also thoughts. So enlighten me, Sean, before my head literally explodes like that guy in the movie Scanners.
It's not much to enlighten you on. So basically, they were having the Buff, fucking Buff Bagwell, and Positively Chris Kanyon were having a stale ass feud, and it was going nowhere. So what did they do? Vince Russo cranked up the weird ass nigga-o-meter to fucking 100 and had Chris Kanyon start to stalk and harass Buff Bagwell's mom.
Poor Kanyon.
Yep. And so then he went to the extent of kidnapping her, leading us to New Blood Rising, where he straps her to a fucking forklift, puts her 9-10 feet in the air, and they have a decent match. The wrestling wasn't bad, but the whole premise of everything else is just weird. Absolutely weird.
To say the least. There's so many, I don't know why they did him like this. I thought Kanyon was a great performer personally. I thought he was great as Mortis, another DOA gimmick. Mm-hmm. At some point in time, we have to talk about a pay-per-view involving him and or Glacier, because questions, boy. And I was a young kid. I was somehow weirdly into this. I don't know why. I liked the Glacier stuff, maybe because I was a Mortal Kombat mark.
Really?
But I was unfortunately into that weirdness. But anyways, he was great as Mortis. Then he fell out of that into the Canyon, where he was kind of more just like golf, and then he got weird to this before they get bought by the E. So this match was weird. It was a match.
It was a match.
Judy Bagwell was on a forklift. It was, like I said, and there are some notes I did have I had some statements and some questions on. Let me get back to my notes. Bagwell screaming or not hearing the promo to know his mom. Like at the beginning when they were coming out, Buff did not hear the promo to know his mom was in the ring. Like he like, how do you not hear him talking about his mom? And he's like, "Oh, Ma, you're in the ring. Let me go."
Shit, yeah.
Yeah, like even though I know there's speakers all throughout this arena that I can hear this at. Oh, now I hear you because the camera's like on set action. So that really annoyed me. Outside of it's just a match. We get the blessings.
This is not just a match.
Oh, enlighten me, because
sir, we get two of the best things that ruined ECW in one match. We get Vince Russo booking and an interference of a man who I think personally led to the downfall of WCW.
Oh yeah. Unfortunately,
this motherfucker David Arquette in the match with Buff Bagwell and Chris Kanyon in a fucking Judy Bagwell on a pole match. It's more than just a match at that point, man. This is like history in wrestling. It's not good history, but it's history.
Yeah, it's like when you eat like a dinner, like growing up, when there's a certain meal, and if my brother's listening to this episode, they'll understand. Our father would make this meal. It consisted of bratwurst, angel hair pasta. That's it. And my dad would make this meal like every Tuesday. And it was some nights we would be like, "Yo, I don't want to fucking eat this." And my dad's answer, "It's dinner. Eat it." That's what this match was. Bratwurst and angel hair pasta. I want to throw up. That's all I'm going to say.
That was beautiful.
I want to fucking throw up.
That was beautiful, man. I love that analogy.
All that said, you're welcome.
I just tried to lift it up so much, and you just brought that shit all the way down.
Because you know what, Sean? As hard as you were trying to lift it, that's like trying to lift a goddamn car, okay? You go move it with all that effort, yet you moved it a little bit. And I was like you said, the way you ended what you said, you were like, "Hey, it was a match." I was like, you know what? You're right. Same way my dad used to say, bratwurst and angel hair pasta, it's dinner, nigga. Eat up.
It's dinner.
Eat up or starve. Drink some water and go to bed. Yeah. Shout out to my pops. So yeah, Buff Bagwell wins. Double Buff blockbuster on Arquette and Kanyon. Arquette wakes up and Kanyon does. Kanyon's like, "F you," fucks Arquette up. Crowd pops because they don't know what else to do, and that's it. Judy Bagwell's safe.
Because they don't know what else to do. That's pretty much the assessment there. They're like, all right, well, Judy Bagwell was just on a forklift. Fucking Buff Bagwell just beat him. David Arquette's here, and now he just gave him a canyon cutter. Fuck it, it's over. Get out of here. Yay. Like, come on, let's go.
Garbage. Utter garbage. There's like I said, there's not a lot to pick off of this. This is the definition of just is what it is. Just plain Jane match outside of just the ridiculous gimmick that means nothing. Yeah. Buff Bagwell must have been a mama's boy, because that's why Vince Russo probably booked this match this way. And Judy Bagwell used to really like be in the back, from what I understand. Also, other more vulgar stories about Judy Bagwell, and I will not allege on this show because I have heard some things, but not going to get into that. Say that for a Patreon maybe in the future, whenever we get that started. But yeah, now we get, after this, we get Lance Storm getting a presidential welcome to the arena. He has the United States / crossed out Canadian championship now, Cruiserweight championship. And what's the third title he has? I forget.
It's like a TV or something like that.
TV title. That's WCW. That tracks. TV title. So triple champ Lance Storm, who I think is probably one of the only good things about this card, as I try to dig and dig and dig like a dog looking for a bone, a sad bone in this graveyard of a pay-per-view called New Blood Rising. So yeah, Lance Storm. Only good, positive thing. We'll talk about his match later. Oh boy. Speaking of overbooked nonsense,
Jesus.
The next gimmick match. Wow. You get the fatal four-way tag team championship match involving Chronic, Brian Adams, same name, different man, and Brian Clark, formerly Atom Bomb and Crush in the WWF, and versus the Misfits in Action, and General Erection, aka Hugh Morris, and Corporal Cajun. Do you know who this dude was? I couldn't put together who he was. I just knew him. Okay, I just knew him as the underling of the MIA, versus Jindrak and O'Hare, the freak shows that they were, that tag team. As Conan was saying, boring. I completely get it, and WWE agreed after the buyout. And the Perfect Event as the other challengers, John Stasiak and Chuck Palumbo, also future WWE superstars. Special guest referees, as I mentioned earlier from the promo cut, the Filthy Animals. Even though the only person really doing work is Disco Inferno, because he's Disco Inferno, the butt of all the jokes. So yeah, man, what the fuck is this? Why did the Filthy Animals have the tag team titles?
Why did a lot of things happen in this match? First, why is there so many people? Why is Glenn Gilberti the fucking special guest referee? Why are the rest of the fucking Filthy Animals enforcers?
Help me understand, because
there was even more people that got into the match. I think overall there's 2, 4, 6, 8, and then you add the 4 Filthy Animals. So I mean, now bro. There's 15 people total that were involved in this match, between run-ins and enforcers, referees, participants, all that shit. Overbooked fucking mess.
Insanity. And I feel like this match was 30 minutes long. I kept looking down at my phone, looking up, forgetting it was on, forgetting what was happening when I would look back up, nodding off, rewinding. I would probably rewind this match the most out of my watches, just to make sure I didn't miss something. And I didn't miss anything. It was just a wrestling match, just overbooked and wild and stupid, and none of it had to happen to get to the end result, which is Chronic winning after some interference, because Vince Russo, everything is an interference. With that being said, Misfits in Action interfere to help Chronic because they don't want the Filthy Animals to win somehow, who are not involved in the match. Help me understand this booking decision around why the players involved did what they did, because I don't understand it.
Well, so I don't know why they have the title. I don't necessarily get it. So Chronic are supposed to be, champs, and then the Filthy Animals have these titles, and I don't understand why they got run in to protect them, because they're supposed to get a shot at the team that wins. So it's
right.
The logic here with how he's booking this with this many people involved is just confusing as fuck and makes you tune out. This match was almost 12 and a half minutes. The main event of this card is 14 minutes.
Right.
Entirely too long for this trash. Entirely too long.
Big facts. Biggest of facts. I don't understand. Like I said, it was just too much going on. None of it, the whole fatal four-way aspect of it made no sense to me. Usually a fatal four-way involves a lot of hot potatoing of the title. It does not seem that this title has been hot potatoed too much away from these big motherfuckers named Chronic, and who are inferred that they just get stoned and whoop people's asses, basically, because all of their stuff is innuendo to 420. because the year 2000. So Dr. Dre, the Chronic album. There you go. That's why that's being involved. Vince Russo was so lazy. Like, and and shout out to Dub, because I know he can relate, and this is probably why he was going to join us, but he got a little too busy. Because it speaks to this era of us growing up. Like I said, I was like, oh, the Chronic. No reason why these guys should be named Chronic. None whatsoever. Do these guys look like somebody you would go in? If you walked into your local dispensary in your legal states, listeners, and you walk into your dispensary and you see the layout of people, the last two people in this match that I expect to see in that dispensary is Bryan Adams and Brian Clark. Am I wrong, Sean?
Fuck no, I wouldn't expect to see these two big greasy ass niggas in a fucking dispensary, bro. Like,
right.
I don't understand the name, or, I mean, they look like good wrestlers. They wrestle all right. I mean, it's believable them having the titles on them. The name just doesn't fit. I don't know. Weird.
All of it. Every bit of it weird. So, like I said, it was... I wish there was more to talk about. Like I said, Conan's commentary was great. Made sense. As far as how he went about stuff. It highlighted a match, yes, since I think was about to be your point.
Yeah.
Not a lot else to really talk about here. It's just a whole lot of literally the definition of a whole lot of nothing. There's so much going on that there's nothing happening. It's like there was an episode of Let Me Book recently where I believe E-Ray used the example of sometimes having two of the same thing means you have nothing at all, which was a very triggering statement for me as a Cleveland Browns football fan. So that's what this makes me think back to. It's just you got too much going on. This should have been two different tag matches, in all honesty. But I big digress on all of that.
From what happens later in the pay-per-view, to be honest, this should have just been a tournament.
Oh, God, he said it. Tournament. God damn it. I mean, I guess it'll fill up the card, especially because what happens later. You know what? I hear you there. I hear you on the tournament, because there's a certain point in this, and later on in the night where three people you've already seen on this card already have a match.
Exactly. That's why I'm like, why not just run a fucking tournament? It's already a Vince Russo booked Hell House. Run a fucking gimmick tournament thing. Like, who fucking knows, man? I don't know. Like,
my head is not the smallest head of the heads, right? So, pause. So with that being said, I feel like my head is expanding with anger every time we get to this card. Like I feel I'm pulsating with anger right now. Like, it is so stupid, all the shit that happens on this card, because none of it is neat. Like, most of it is just unnecessary. And it's just like, who in their right mind thought hiring Vince Russo to have this type of control over their company was a good fucking idea? It just speaks to more of the no shit they got bought out the way they did. Honestly, I feel like, and I'll talk about this more later, Vince Russo was a sleeper cell for WWF, like WWE.
He's a sleeper agent,
right? Like, why else would you? What?
That's messed up. Sense. I mean,
none of it makes sense.
Well, man. It does make sense, because when you take what he's doing and you culminate it all, you see the angle he's trying to go for. But when you actually look at it, and he doesn't have anybody that's saying no, because he has all absolute control. In WWEF, he had people that tell him, fuck you, that's trash. No, we're going to go this way. But then when he did spit something out that was good, they built upon that. This is a purely booked Vince Russo show. His ideas. Nobody's telling him no. Nobody's telling him, hey, do this. It's his fucking decision. That's the blame I put on it, to be honest. That's what I see. There
was no check. Usually, at least allegedly how the United States government's ran, it's supposed to be a system of checks and balances. There was no check into Vince Russo's alleged balance, whatever that is. Yeah, man. More to come on Vince Russo later. So we get into Chronic retains, if anybody cares.
If anybody cares, to be honest.
So we get into an interview. Dub's favorite wrestler, Double J. Mr. Broke 1,000 guitars, broke 1,000 hearts, broke 1,000 records, according right. Always drew the dollars, according to Dub. So he has a promo talking shit. He says the word slap nuts about 30 times to a woman. There's that. Next thing that happens, more gimmick matches for you. Have you had enough? Are you full?
But at least one of the people in this match, I honestly really like their wrestling and their work in wrestling.
I could say both. I'm a fan of both. Prior life of one, but
yeah. I don't really know who the franchise is.
Oh, let's get into it. Let me talk to you. So with that being said, let me set the people up. Strap match. And they make a point to say this isn't like your typical strap match. So like for those of us that have been seeing the dog collar matches recently, like with the FTR and the Briscoe brothers and the CM Punk, MJF, no, this is not that. This is something completely different, and you'll hear why later. But we have the franchise, Shane Douglas, Mr. Impact Player himself, who I will enlighten Shine on, who he was, put some Birdman respect on his name a little bit, with Tori Wilson versus Tori Wilson's future hubby, Billy Kidman. So yeah, bro, Shane Douglas. Interesting choice to not wear any sort of gear, but he was injured, so I guess that's probably. And knowing Vince Russo, he probably showed up not even expecting to wrestle that night. He probably thought he was gonna just cut a promo, and he was just like, "Hey, I got an idea. I can milk another 10 to 15 minutes out of this segment. Here's how we do it, and this is what we get." Because he comes out as if he's just cutting a promo on Kidman. You would never know this is a match until the announcers say that it's a match. So you get Shane calls out Kidman. Kidman comes out. As far as Kidman did basically nothing and won this match, it was like not a lot happened here. It was weird, but like you said, great worker as far as who Kidman is. The franchise legendary worker from his ECW days, in my opinion. But before I get into the franchise, I just want to hear your thoughts just on this match in general. What stuck out to you, bro?
Well, I love the fact this was honestly, I would say, my favorite match of the night, just wrestling wise. Wrestling wise, it's a strap match. You got to get personal with this shit because y'all are, tied to each other the whole time. The first half of the match was pretty slow. That second half was really where shit kicked up, where it got entertaining. It was decent overall. I like Billy Kidman. Like I said, I don't know who the fuck Shane Douglas is. I don't know who the franchise is. The dude just looked like, some asshole, out there in some sweats and cut off shirt.
Yeah,
nothing appealing to me, to be honest.
I understand what is appealing about. Like, he looks exactly what he's being presented as, a hard ass dude from the Midwest. He just looks like he just got off of work and he's going to happy hour in Pittsburgh because that's who Shane Douglas is. He's a Pittsburgh guy.
Understandable. So worked at the steel mill.
He gives those vibes off. That's the gimmick he always has wanted to be. That's what's worked for him. As we go to, and when we go into future ECW deep dives, he's a big part, big part of ECW and who that they, as they create their foundation of who they are as a company. He's a big part of that in the main event scene, and because he had experience working in WWF and WCW. His WCW days, he had to deal, and he'll tell you, man, I advise y'all, if y'all don't know a lot about him, he has some shoot interviews out there kind of talking about his story. And as somebody who was watching live and in living color, he got some points. He makes some valid points. He had to deal with a lot of politicking, and he got buried by Ric Flair. Ric Flair kind of like dogged him a little bit coming up. That's just Rick doing Rick shit. Yeah. Not wanting to see another blonde-haired dude come up. That's coming for his spot, so to speak. You know how that goes. And then in WWF, he got a DOA gimmick called Dean Douglas, where he was a professor, essentially. Very Chase U, Andre Chase-esque, in all honesty, minus the university, just him. So he would have these segments where he would be at a chalkboard and he'd be like talking shit and talking about how much smarter he is than people. That was like his whole shtick. This is in the era of the WWF having everyone, their gimmick was their like real life jobs and stuff like that. Unless you were Shawn Michaels or Razor Ramon or Diesel. And funny, I bring those gentlemen up. The Click buried him bad back in the day. Bad.
Really?
Yeah. It's well documented. When Shawn Michaels got his ass whooped that one time, but in kayfabe, lost his smile. I think this is the original losing of the smile when he had to give up the Intercontinental title on Raw. And they had the song "Tell Me a Lie," like that whole like sad, sappy ass "We Miss You, Sean" shit going on. The first time it happened, he gives the title up to Shane Douglas, Dean Douglas. Later on that night, Razor Ramon, they've in the back clicking. Razor Ramon has a match with Dean Douglas that night and takes the Intercontinental Championship off of him, and you know the rest is history from there. Who hot potatoes that title from there on out. So, with that said, yes, they're so toxic, bro. They're so toxic in history. So Shane Douglas he had to go to ECW because he got shunned out of WCW. And then he goes to WWF. The shit with them happened. And then he goes to ECW at the time, Eastern Championship Wrestling. And it's when he goes and he links up with Paul Heyman and they have the tournament for the Eastern Championship Wrestling title. Shane Douglas wins the tournament, says fuck this title, and he calls it the ECW title, Extreme Championship Wrestling, and the rest is history, bro. So that's how Shane Douglas, in my eyes, is, I think, no pun intended, an impact player. It was the name of his stable in ECW. So that's that in a nutshell. That's who Shane Douglas is to wrestling. He got shit on the main rosters of the big boys, and he went to ECW and helped Paul Heyman start a revolution, bro.
All right, well, I feel ignorant now. Thank you.
No doubt. That's what this show is for, man. That's what we're here for. We laugh and joke, but if we can make, no pun intended, to the current product, lemonade out of lemons here, with this shit, we will do that. And I think Shane Douglas, when I saw him pop up on my TV, I'm like, oh, this is a good time to bring him up and ask if Sean really knows a lot about him, because here, these his better days are behind him. He's in WCW because Paul Heyman can't pay all of his talent. This is when that's starting to happen in ECW.
Oh, and checks was bouncing. All right.
Yes. So he's one of the first guys who was like, fuck that, I got a family. and WCW's handed out checks, evidently, as we've seen throughout this card. So he goes and gets his. And I can't blame him because he was one of the founding fathers of ECW. He was there from day one. So that's where we get to this. Now, him with Tori Wilson, I don't know about that. I don't know anything about that. I think he was, from what I understand, he was more a mentor to her, getting her like to understand the business, getting her ready, so to speak. That's why they had her be his valet, because of how he got people on at ECW. Like, think about a Francine, other people he helped get. I mean, Sonny didn't really need a lot of help, but he was there to kind of, facilitate things and shit like that.
At least, yeah.
So yeah, that's who Shane Douglas is, man. That's the franchise, bro.
That makes a lot of sense, because I saw they put a lot of not a lot of weight, but be fighting Kidman in a strap match that's going to go almost 10 minutes, smack dab in the middle of the card. Important area, because you can't have your middle of the card lacking, so you got to have something, a good strong match there to bring people's eyes on. I think that did it, to be honest, besides the the following content after this match.
The spankings and such.
No, not even. Yeah, well, I mean that too, but I guess that was the prelude for what comes after this. But
that was your Jerry Springer moment of the match.
There you go.
Yeah.
Tori Wilson gets whipped with a leather strap. So if you're into that shit, go check it out.
Jerry, yes. All right.
Pause. Rewind. Fast forward. No, I'm playing. But yeah, man. Yeah, that was that one.
All right. So like Kevin wins, spanks Tori. Mark Madden's pants fall off. We then go on to Booker T arriving to the arena, looking very important. Love this era of Booker T because this is when he's first getting like his whole shine. As I talk about, there are only a couple things about this show I like, and this is one of them. Booker T being put in a prominent spot because he deserved it, and it was way past it. Anyways, on to the cringe. More gimmick matches. Did not know this match had this name until looking at the actual card. It is the quote, Mud Rip the Clothes Off match, in quotes, featuring Major Guns. That is her name. I am not being ridiculous as I am known to be on the main show. Versus Miss Hancock, aka Stacy Keibler, WWE Hall of Famer. Yeah, bro. Let's get into it.
What do we know? Nah, don't even say that. What is there to get into about? My notes, I got one fucking note. White women in mud. Next. What are we doing here? Other than, okay, I will give props. At the end of the match, you know, there was some whole injury angle with Stacy Keibler. Whatever that was, they tried to add something to it. I mean, hey, whatever. Other than that, bro, what are we talking about? It's women ripping their clothes off in some of the worst wrestling fashion you can imagine. Stacy Keibler, who's been basically sexualized her entire wrestling career. I mean, nothing to talk about here. Nothing to talk about here.
Yeah.
Do you have something you like to talk about with it?
Couple. Things done from research, I guess. Not research as the sick way of research, but I'm a Conrad Thompson fan. I love Conrad. I love his shows. I love what he's done with getting the old heads back into telling these stories that they do on this whole network of podcasts now. But I was with Conrad day one when he was just him and Bruce Pritchard talking their shit. And Major Guns has always come up as the discussion on his shows because Conrad's just like us, a dude as far as how he goes about stuff. And when he talks on that show, he has talked about in regards to Major Guns, her, how can I say it, employment choice after wrestling, so to speak. Which we could say involved the adult industry. I will not say anything further, but yeah, go do your researches, Google your Googles, intranet your intranets, as the legendary George W. Bush has said back in the day. But yeah, Major Guns involved in the adult industry post-wrestling. Like we could not tell, right?
I mean, it's natural. I mean, there's been, hopping back to the present time, I think Shotzi and Io have been in adult. Yeah, Shotzi was a porn star, bro. You didn't know that? Yeah, Shotzi was a whole ass porn star. Did you not see how she looks on her last Raw appearance?
I did.
Did you not get porn star from that?
I get that from quite a bit that happens on that show, but I try to be like, hey, that's just the aesthetic. That's the Vince threads, and I don't try to look into it further. But when I hear verbatims, I got verbatims. Mm-hmm. Verbatim we will later on. But with that being said,
you know how Vince likes his girls, man. What's wrong with you? He likes some seasoned vets, boy.
I see, and I guess Tripp's like father-in-law, like son-in-law, as I see. With that all being said, Major Guns wins this match. I guess Major Guns rips off Stacy Keibler's clothes, so she wins. So from there, we move on. Oh man, this is our first non-gimmick match, but I'd beg to get differ. To say that, and the reason being, this match involves The legendary Sting, the Stinger, who's still wrestling and going through tables, probably because he was involved in shit like this, versus now the Demon, formerly the Kiss Demon. Kiss as in Detroit Rock City Kiss. As in, we just paid, they had a partnership with them and the partnership's over, so we're not going to call him the Kiss Demon anymore. So we're going to call him the Demon now. So, yeah, bro. Aware of any of that?
I literally thought Gene Simmons was wrestling when I first saw this, and then you told me, yeah, bro, they got something called the Kiss Demon. It was a whole partnership, yada yada. And then I looked into it. I was like, okay, I understand it. This dude's ass, like steaming pile of cheeks as far as wrestling.
Yeah.
So I'm not really interested in it at all when I first saw it. Especially with the match. The match, I think you said it's not a gimmick match. I think the gimmick itself was that it's a fucking 50-second match.
Okay. I was going to argue that a guy had a band attached to his name literally like a month before this pay-per-view was the gimmick, but I'll take that too. 50-second matches are a thing. That's a gimmick. People are shocked when they see that kind of stuff.
Like, it wasn't necessarily a squash, but it was kind of a squash.
He didn't get an offensive move in. I'd call that a squash.
He ran up on him, didn't he? I thought he got a punch in or something like that.
You're being very kind to the Demon, sir. I guess. I think maybe he got one in and Sting hit the next one off, and then from there he just whooped his ass and beat him.
Yeah, let me go check. Let me see how many punches he exactly got off of this shit. All right, so Sting repels. He hits the ground. All right, we got a live review going on here. All right, Sting's hit the ground. He throws a punch. Never mind. He doesn't get one shot in. Sting kicks him immediately in the gut. Sting kicks this man immediately in the gut and starts throwing him in the guardrails. Hits him with a scorpion death drop, and then that's it.
Does he even take off his rappel cord? I think he whoops his ass.
No, he still got the belt on.
That's what I thought. Yeah,
he still got the belt on. Like, that's the wild part about it. Oh wait, no. The Kiss Demon gets in like 2 or 3 shots. He gets in 2 or 3 before they get to the ring. I see 3 punches. He landed 3 punches this match in 50 seconds.
I take it back. My bad, Kiss Demon. You got some offense in. But not enough because Sting ends up winning once the match gets into the ring. So from there, Vampiro, who has a big feud with Sting in this era of WCW, comes out with the Great Muta, who we saw earlier, fight the Cat for no reason. Now attacking Sting for no reason, unless there were a stable or a thing with Vampiro. Don't know. Don't care to know. Unless Sean knows already.
I don't fucking know.
So I don't care.
No, you don't care. I don't care. We all don't care.
Right. The Chronic boys come out to help Sting. Chronic help out Sting. They beat up, they chase off Vampiro and the Great Muta. Sting just walks off, and the Demon just stood around looking like a lost puppy. Pretty much that gimmick here. Don't understand it. We get a match literally announced for later that the Chronic is gonna fight the Chronic. Chronic is gonna fight Vampiro and Great Muta later on tonight. Because we need to fill time in this card. I don't know how. This pay-per-view literally on Peacock, where there's things cut out of it, I'm sure. Ran for almost 3 hours. I don't know where they got off thinking they needed more stuff in this show. Don't understand it. So, thank God. Finally, even though it is a gimmick match, we get to a more lighter-hearted, fun match in the WCW Canadian, formerly United States Heavyweight Championship match. Landstorm versus the fat chick Thriller, not yet, but soon to be, Mike Awesome.
This was a great match.
Yeah, not mad at it. on this is finally like we got through all the shit. That sad bone was finally found. A decent match on an absolute garbage card. Like I said, Lance Storm's gimmick right now, top notch. Love it, love it, love it. Love the Canadian gimmick. I'm gonna lean into it heavy, and that he did. Not only did he lean into it like he stated, as far as how he was going about that, he had the former Mountie, my man's Rougeau, I forget which Rougeau he is, comes out to be the special guest referee because this is a Canadian rules match. So more Crash TV, folks, when I say that. Canadian rules. Reason being, there's a lot of false finishes, and I say false in big quotes. Not like your false finishes of today, to say the least, where you get full on what we would think is conclusions to matches, then challenged by Canadian rules, which are not real rules at all. Hence the gimmick, hence the hee hee ha ha, hence Crash TV, hence Vince Russo, hence I feel like I'm scrolling down my cable box on television in the year 2000. Shoot me in the head, please, Lord, have mercy. Here we are on this match. Okay,
look. The whole... Okay, so for the people that have never watched this specific pay-per-view, a Canadian rules match, essentially, these are the rules. It means it is, instead of a traditional 3 count, they hit the old NXT Big E with the 5 count. I don't know if you remember watching that NXT when Big E used to pin people with the 5.
I do remember seeing the highlights of him doing that stuff. Yeah, it was just a whole gimmick. They knock him out so long. Yeah.
Exactly. And then the funniness of it, and where the whole gimmick of the match is every time there's a finish, like BA was saying, it's a false finish because they implement a new Canadian rule. So at first, boom, hits the 3 count. Nope, it's got to be a 5 count. And then finally, dude hits the 5 count. Mike Awesome, by the way, Mike Awesome looks like a fucking monster in this match. The way he's actually wrestling and the spots that he's doing looks great. And then he hits him with an actual 5 count. And then it turns out, following the 5 count, the competitor has to stay down for 10 seconds. Even more gimmicky bullshit, and people fucking explode for it. And then following the 10 seconds, if both men are down for a 10 count, the first man to get up wins. Like,
it's that all ridiculous.
It's fucking ridiculous, bro. And the way that everything goes in the match is just hilarious. And then you were explaining the referee. So who is this guy again?
It's Jacques Rougeau. He was part of the tag team, the Mounties, in the WWF. It was Jacques Rougeau and Ray Rougeau, I want to say, was the other one.
Okay.
Real life tag team, badass French Canadians. So yeah, they were Canadian, and Jacques Rougeau must have not been doing much, and they said, "Hey, you want to come to Vancouver? Call a Canadian rules match," and he said, "Hey," and he came on up or down. So yeah.
He did a great fucking job. Like,
yeah, I agree.
That match would not have been the same without him, to be honest. I don't think anybody else could have pulled that off that well.
Right. No, I wholeheartedly agree with that. Definitely did their thing.
Good shit on that one. So, yeah, man. Good shit all around on that one, especially the whole Canadian gimmick. And then the fucking ending of the match, which was just weird overall, with Bret Hart and the cosign. Did you expect that at all?
No, but again, Crash TV. Let's bring out the other Canadian. I think Bret Hart wasn't even cleared yet. He still was fucking drooling from getting kicked in the head by Goldberg and letting his head bounce off the concrete unprotected. Because Goldberg's a terrible dance partner. So at this time in his career. So yes, he had no business coming out there. I think Jacques Rougeau was plenty of the extra Canadian flavor we needed. But Vince Russo, who just says, fuck recipes, I do what I want. I want Bret Hart. Brett, you know me, bro. When you go back to Connecticut, bro, you know when I used to write for the magazine. Don't you want to be involved in my pay-per-view? Because it's me, bro. I'm Vince Russo. You know me.
You hit
Help
that,
me.
Brett, bro, come on, Brett. Brett. I need you on the pay-per-view, Brett.
Right.
We need you to come out for the Canadian Rules match, Brett. Come on.
Right. Come on, bro. I need you, bro. Oh, you're gonna do me like that, bro? Whoa. Okay, bro. Okay. Just one appearance. 2 minutes tops. No, you're not gonna. Goldberg won't be there, bro. Or at least he will be at that moment. I don't know, bro. Just are you gonna come or not?
No kicks to the face, bro. No kicks to the face. I promise, bro.
No super kicks, bro. So yes, Bret Hart had no business coming out there. There was too much sauce, as they say, in that Canadian recipe that they were whipping up with that match. So yes, Lance Storm wins this overbooked match. Overbooked for all the funny reasons, which we cannot say about the past overbookings up until this point. From now, we get a Kevin Nash promo. Goldberg has still not arrived to the arena. Kevin Nash is just wilding out, I think, at this point in his career, which is why Sean is cracking up. I felt those vibes, but I'm gonna let my co-host expound a little bit more on his laughter, because that's what I thought. I was just like, Nash don't give any fucks.
Do you remember the exact promo he cut?
No.
Dude, I feel like it wasn't even, it was so real, it wasn't even a promo. He was wilding out.
How much they didn't care.
He was wilding out to the point. He was telling us exactly what was going to happen. He was telling us there's not gonna be a Bill Goldberg. I'm getting I'm facing Steiner tonight. I'm getting a shot at the title and I'm going over. And then walks away. No emotion to it, nothing like that. And he said there's two things that I'm about in this business. I'm about money and the title. And tonight I'm getting the title shot and I'm going over. And walks smooth away. That was like legitimately the man Kevin Nash just talking to us. He wasn't a wrestler cutting a promo at that moment. That was just Kevin Nash like, yep, I'm here. This is what's going on. No Goldberg tonight. I'm beating this dude and then I'm going to go win the title, which I think actually happened, if I'm not mistaken. So I
think you're right. I think that's how this all plays out, because I know Kevin Nash jackknife power bombs a lot of dudes, and I think he wins after all of that.
Yeah, because that's how this eventually leads into the finger poke of doom. This storyline, because he eventually wins and then drops it back to Hogan to reform the NWO and all that shit.
Right. And you know what? And here's another. This is more stamps of the Crash TV bullshit. So Vince Russo, because he's always a fan of just the work shoot bullshit, as we found out heavily on that Dark Side of the Ring episode. He would tell people, like, for example, in this promo, like you said, Kevin Nash is talking like he knew exactly, like, I'm going over, that type of stuff. He didn't say I'm going to beat him. He said I'm going over, because he wanted the smart marks, bro, to feel like they're in the game, bro, because they're using insider words, so that means it's real, it's a shoot, it's going to happen. Shit. Even though I told him to say it that way so I could get him to buy in, bro, but you know it's Crash TV, bro. Shoot me in the fucking head, bro. I hate this shit. So with that being said, because it's so disingenuous. Don't pee on me and tell me it's fucking Gatorade, dude. Don't do me like that. So speaking of don't do me like that, I don't know why they did Chronic like this. They got to go wrestle again. You're champs. Throwing them back out there on TV, because why not? I'm sure these guys didn't get 2 paychecks in them. I'm almost certain. 3, I should say, counting Great Muta. So we get the Dark Carnival as their coin, so I guess they are a stable. Vampiro and the Great Muta versus tag champs Chronic. They wrestle Chronic somehow. Somehow we get more weird fucking nonsense. Great Muta accidentally sprays the referee with the mist, giving the Harris brothers, formerly as the DOA, now doing this like Harris brother gimmick, and beat up Chronic with the referee. Sold the powder to the eye like he had just been shot in the face, basically. Jealous of him. Muta then hits a moonsault. gets the count, Dark Carnival, win the belts in an unplanned match on the card. What the fuck, Shad? What was the point of the first match if your champions are going to lose the title later on in the first place?
This whole match just freaked me out. What were you guaranteeing? What were you guaranteeing?
I guarantee Vince Russo takes credit for the Money in the Bank briefcase. And the reason why I say that is because of booking decisions like this. I guarantee you when that type of shit happens, it's such a Vince Russo thing, though. Think about the whole Money in the Bank concept in the first place. Like, this crazy match, and this guy's walking around with this briefcase. Nobody knows when he's going to cash in, but everybody knows when they're going to cash in type shit. That is such a Vince Russo-ism. So I just know Vince Russo. And I feel like I sound like Jim Cornette on this episode.
Oh, we're going to with that. We haven't even hopped into just Vince Russo. This is still just the card, just Vince Russo. There's a whole.
I'm sitting here like I was like I feel like I've heard this from somewhere. I was like, I sound like Jim Cornette. Oh my god, don't cancel me. So yeah, bro, it just screams to me, like I said, like. He thinks he probably created that concept, or he motivated the guys that created that concept, even though he wasn't in the room. But yeah, bro, your thoughts on this bullshit?
Bullshit. Exactly what it is. Bullshit.
Why position Chronic is so strong on this card if you're going to have him go out like that?
Exactly. With fucking, I was sitting here freaked out. I thought they took the fucking Good Brothers, took the DeLorean with us and threw this match like real time while I was watching it. I'm sitting here like, yo, who the fuck are these dudes, bro?
They are to get terrible tag team.
So who's that? Is that Nikki Patrick that in the refereeing? I think I don't remember.
Oh no, it's a dude named Mickey J. I don't know who the fuck that is.
Mickey J. No, he was a WWE referee.
Oh, so did Nick Patrick change his name?
Maybe. I don't know. We're going to look into that one. But this dude, I know, but for him to do you notice how fast you went through that synopsis of the match? You went through it in like 45 seconds. This is a 10-minute match. That should tell you something. You summed up a whole 10-minute tag team match with interferences, a technical ref bump, and a heel ending with the screw job, all in 45 seconds. Should tell you how shit this match was and how full of nothing it was till like the last few minutes.
I hated this. I probably hated this the most out of everything on this card, just because it was so unnecessary and it wasn't planned, and you could tell it wasn't planned, and it just had no place on this card. This is a 4-hour pay-per-view. Like, why did they need this much stuff happening? I gotta look up, like, why. There had to be a reason why they thought this more was necessary, because it so wasn't. And they, like, one of the only positives of this card, Chronic, they end up making weak on their own. Like, y'all didn't have to do that. You could have put any other tag team out there. Ridiculous, bro. But moving the fuck on, we get more promo action. We get a Booker T promo basically saying Jeff Jarrett gonna have to kill him to get that belt. Real nigga shit. Fuck with it. From moving on there, 3-way match that Kevin Nash alluded what he's doing in, because it's a work, bro. It's a shoot, bro. Is it, bro? Who knows, bro? Kevin Nash versus Scott Steiner with his main freak Madeja, and versus the elusive, is he here? Is he not here? Goldberg. Yeah.
Every time, bro.
I don't understand why Goldberg was even involved in this match or needed to be involved. Like, his name attached to it.
Suspense? Like, something to keep your eye on the match at this point? I don't really know. Because most of the fighting was done by, Kevin Nash and Steiner up until a point. So,
there was, we got more scripted walkout shit. We didn't get enough at Bash of the Beach 2000. Let's add more scripted walkouts into our matches. So, as I said, there was no point of Goldberg being involved in this match. To the point where Kevin Nash probably didn't even think he was really going to try to show up, which tells me more that Vince Russo just went and did this shit. Like, hey, Bill, I got an idea. Didn't tell anybody else because why did they need to know? Because Crash TV. So Goldberg acts like he's coming out to the ring. He gets in there, or he's about to go into the ring, I should say. He said he didn't want to be powerbombed by Big Sexy and, quote, goes off script by walking to the back. He then is confronted by our fucking fearless booker, Vince Russo, and he demands him get back in the ring. Bill Goldberg, because fucking reality, Crash TV says, fuck you, very clearly on WWE, on Peacock, excuse me, not in the network. I missed the network. But clearly says, fuck you, and leaves.
God, that's wild.
Yeah, man, you could tell. He definitely says it. You get Steiner and Nash still fighting in the inside or in the ring. And then you get, as Kevin Nash said, he powerbombs Steiner, goes over and wins.
Gets the title shot.
Gets the title shot. And I think wins that. But we'll talk about it another time. Thoughts? I think this should have just been NWO Wolfpack versus NWO Black and White old school members and leave Bill Goldberg out of it. No business being involved.
I guess it was just for the title, man. I don't know. They had to throw Goldberg in a lot of shit, dude. That was like their star power. You know, Kevin Nash was getting a little old. Them legs ain't moving like they used to when they was Diesel.
I get that.
Steiner, you know, buff, but dude is so buff he can barely fucking move. Like, they needed a little something to spice it up, add some suspense to the shit. And I think Goldberg did it. I just, like you said, you should have just ran a, you know, Wolfpack versus Hollywood type shit.
Yeah, man. It's but we got to overbook it. So that's why I'm like, it doesn't shock me, but it's just so unnecessary. So unnecessary.
It's Vince Russo. 90% of his booking is unnecessary. Tell me one match on this card that was necessary. Was it the Judy Bagwell on a pole match, or was it the strip close off and mud match?
I'm gonna bail all of us out and say it's this next match, the main event. Thank the good Lord. We got the WCW Classic Big Gold Belt World Heavyweight Championship on the line. Our champion, Booker T, just becoming into his own as a singles top of the card superstar versus, again, A-Dub, the Tribal Pod Chief's favorite wrestler growing up. Had posters of him all over his room in Detroit. Jeff booked all the dollars, broke all the guitars.
Certified bag chaser.
Double J, Jarret, certified bag chaser. Everything else is tongue in cheek. You can't take that away from him. Certified bag getter, evidently. He knows how to fuck up a job and go into another one, or make it look like he fucked up so he can get another job to where they don't care what he did. That's the true skill, ladies and gentlemen. But what also is a true skill is being one of the most annoying heels on planet Earth that Jeff Jarrett knows how to do with his what he thinks is tough guy shit, which annoys the rest of the planet with his constant use of the word slap nuts. Those stupid ass yellow glasses he would wear, thinking that like he was going fucking paintballing or something. Going back to his WWF days when he had that stupid ass shirt that said "Don't piss me off." Why? So you could get booked to the fucking jobber status? What's gonna happen? So, yeah, Jeff Jarrett.
Catering.
Right, for real. If your daddy wasn't in the business, he'd be in catering. So with that being said, we got him going against Booker T. As we know, anybody that knows what happened at Bash at the Beach 2000, this is basically a rematch from that whole thing. It's basically like the redo, everybody doing it right as far as how Booker T should have had that match play out that evening. It's essentially what this match is. It's not a bad match. It's not a terrible match. It's not the greatest match. Very mid, but like I said, serviceable to what it needs to be done to make Booker T look stronger. Jeff Jarrett to really go over this time instead of the fucking clusterfuck that was Bash at the Beach, with the Hogan factor being there, and such. So yeah, man. This, like I said, this is the only match that I was ever familiar with on this card outside of the Judy Bagwell on a pole match from just wrestling lore of old. What are your thoughts on this match, brother?
Pretty good. I liked early Booker T. He reminds me a lot of my pops, because my pops was a real Harlem Heat guy. Watching early WCW. And he's built like him too. Looks just fucking like him. It's weird as hell. If you saw an early picture of my pops, you'd be like, damn, that's like Booker T's brother, bro. But other than that, Jeff Jarrett was a really weird character, because he knows what he's doing. He knows how to tell a story in a wrestling ring. He knows how to wrestle. He just doesn't look like the most believable wrestler at times. But
accurate. Pretty
entertaining match. You get some pretty standard Jeff Jarrett shit. You get ref bumps, you get guitar shots, low blows, shit like that. Pretty standard 14-minute WCW heavyweight title match. I like it. Not my favorite of the card, even though it is a main event. By far not my favorite. But pretty much props to Book. That's really why I would give it the score, his Booker T.
Yeah, this, like I said, Booker T, and like I said, the only, and it'll be a nice segue into the Vince Russo discussion. The only thing I respect Vince Russo's time in WCW for was with Eric Bischoff, and a lot of other people overlooked was Booker T and what he was doing just as a single star. Even when they moved it, he had some terrible shit too. Like he had the GI Bro. Nobody talks about that. I think that's coming after this. That hasn't happened yet. He has the whole thing with his brother and Ahmed Johnson, formerly known as, but now I believe his name in WW, or excuse me, in WCW was some big something. But regardless, that's the type of shit he was dealing with. So I give Vince Russo that, because he at least gave him this run before he got subjected to doing shit like that again. But yeah, bro. All in all, it was a decent match for what it was supposed to be, which is to give Booker T a proper welcoming into the title picture. But do you have any other thoughts, man, before we kind of put a bow on all of this? We're getting into like not a deep dive, but just a retrospective on what Vince Russo means to wrestling. Anything else to add?
Nah, let's put a bow on it, because I don't want to do no retrospect. I want to spearhead some of that shit.
Ooh, man. I got shooters.
Because some of the shit that is most infamous for the shittiness of Vince Russo's booking started in this pay-per-view, not the main event. It was the three-way. It started in the three-way dance. So yeah, you can put a bow on the pay-per-view. Let's get into Russo, because this shit,
yeah, bro. We'll do letter grades to officially end it, but to talk about Vince Russo, man, Vince fucking Russo. So me being an Attitude Era kid, nostalgia fan of it, retroactively looking back on how it wasn't as great as I think we thought it all was, just to try to give it as much different viewpoints as possible. Vince Russo, yes, was very influential in a lot of the makeup of that period on when WWF, on their side of it. Now, I say that specifically because Vince Russo was involved in a time in which the WWF was losing the Monday Night War. He had to talk Vince McMahon into doing a lot of the stuff that he saw WCW leaning into, as far as the more reality-based behavior of the characters over there, and try to do the same thing here. So he did help usher in, to a degree, some of the Attitude Era stuff, but also he was around in an era where WWF was floundering, when WCW seemed to get what people wanted to watch. Outside of that, man, like I said, he's done more harm than good to me, in my opinion, in the long-term state of wrestling. He has made it okay to, I think, an egregious point to book wrestling ridiculously just for the sake of a pop, the sake of a ratings pop, that is. Not even talking about live crowd, because his concept of Crash TV, if y'all don't know and what that means, I've said it so many times during this episode, but what it means is just he is creating scenarios to stop you from wanting to change the channel. Back in the day, fighting for your eyes to stay on certain channels was a big deal. The Nielsen companies didn't really have what we have now with streaming and looking at how people watch TV. Everybody was all about looking at how many live eyes do you have watching TV. So with that being said, Vince Russo would do things to make people think like, oh snaps, this happened this last week. Like, let's go about the ministry storyline. Like when Undertaker was bringing people essentially to a cult, a satanic cult, which was the Ministry of Darkness, is how it would be presented as. And you have people getting abducted. You got shows closing with people being crucified on live TV. That kind of stuff you're like, damn, I don't want to change to Nitro because I want to see how this show gonna close. Because last week I saw Stone Cold Steve Austin get put on a cross, and it was all over the news how that offended a lot of people. It's back in the day when people actually got offended by stuff, and people actually cared about it outside of everybody having a voice on social media. So yeah, bro, that's about the only thing I can give Vince Russo credit for. Was like he knew how to create that ratings pop because that's all those guys looked for at that period of time. But like I said, detrimental to the overall product because you get a lot of guys now that yearn for the Attitude Era type of booking to be done again. And as we've seen on all the look back shows from this era or the Attitude Era itself when it was booming, problematic as fuck. So that's why I say the long-term aspect of what Vince Russo did was dangerous, because there's always that thought in the back of a promoter's mind that, hey, we could just launch this shit up. That'll get some eyes on this product, and that idea will never die. Your thoughts, my friend?
Now, let me expose that. Okay, Vince Russo did help in all of those things. So if you got the head of a business and a team of people that spearheaded something great and did a bunch of great things, is it one individual person or is it the whole person's fault? What happens? Because people say, what happened? People said Vince did this. Vince spearheaded the Attitude Era, changed all of this shit. When in reality, it was Vince controlling and had the final say. But it was a group of people. You know, you had JR controlling, talent relations, Michael Hayes and Vince Russo, Jim Cornette. What's Beavertooth?
Michael Dunn or Kevin Dunn.
Kevin Dunn. So like people like that. You got people like that, in a team doing all these things. And who took credit for it? Vince. Now place him in WCW. Vince Russo now has the reins. He now has creative control. He now has the final say. And what fucking happened? It tanked. Vince Russo helped out with spitballs that hit the wall and stuck. In WCW, even the ones that fell flat to the fucking ground, he picked back up and used because that's what he had. Some stuff stuck, some stuff was good. Other than that, I mean, look at it even in this pay-per-view. What happened at that three-way match? It was Goldberg, Steiner, and Nash.
Yes.
He books himself to walk out and confront Goldberg.
Yeah.
Where is that believable? And nowhere. And then, do you know what this leads to? This is a feud with Goldberg. He leads into costing Goldberg a match with Steiner after this, bro. Like, this leads to, and then later on, books himself to become World Heavyweight Champion. What kind? You don't do that.
Yeah,
there's certain things people always said in wrestling. You never give talent creative control, and you just don't book yourself to the top, dude. Like, that's not how you fucking do it.
He did those egregiously.
Egregiously. He had his favorites. He had his ones he didn't like. When Vince Russo has full creative control and you get nothing but Vince Russo ideas, it's shit. When Vince Russo is on a team that has people to filter out the bullshit and bring out the best of his ideas, great. and total asset to any creative team you can have in wrestling. But to have him as creative control, totally fucking worst idea ever. And we saw it firsthand.
Yeah. He like I said earlier, he needs the checks and balances. He needs somebody there. I don't know if Eric Bischoff was the right guy for that, because you could argue Eric Bischoff has similar issues as far as why he did not do well in the long term running WCW, just because he got caught up in the French shit and making sure NWO anything was on his shows, and that's all he really cared about. And everything else just fell where it fell. Great for short term, bad for long term. To operate like that. So yeah, bro. So in closing, I think our Vince Russo takes are very spot on to certain degrees. Vince Russo's definitely a polarizing figure in wrestling. And when you put on a pay-per-view like this, and even more so bring up the points you bring up about how he booked himself to be champion, I think multiple times. I think he's at least a 2-time big gold belt holder.
And he had defenses as well.
Correct.
Steel cage matches. Yeah, he had defenses.
Making a joke out of that belt. So it makes you wonder. Just around that kind of stuff from his eyes. But the debate will always go on. Vince Russo forever will think that he did not do anything bad in regards to how he handled this. But in his defense, like, they let him do it. So that's all WCW, man. So in closing, I'm afraid to ask, New Blood Rising, aka BA's blood pressure rising, and Sean's too. Letter grade on this rolling piece of crap.
I can't give it an F because there were things that entertained me. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to give it a D minus.
Okay.
I'm going to give it a D minus.
Okay, D minus. D minus is tough. You might as well give him an F.
I can't give it an F because I like some things. You know, you had Kidman on the card. You had a good, a decent Booker T match.
I'm gonna have to go with just a flat D, because to the points that you just made, like, there was places to kick it in that regard. As far as, like, there's a little good in there, like I said, Booker T, Lance Storm. That's your D. That's like writing your name on the SAT. You get some points for it, I guess.
Exactly, yeah. It's like you wrote your name, you got at least the correct month, and you just did some random dots. Like you did A, C, C, D, C, E. I don't know, whatever, just down the card, random scribbles, shit. And you got some shit. That's
or
it.
circle C the whole way down. That was a whole way to strategize and fail a test with all your might. So yeah, man. D minus for Sean, D for BA, A plus if y'all stuck around, and A, watch this pay-per-view retroactive after listening to this, or if you heard us saying that we were going to do this as you saw the episode pop up, got excited, put it on, and realized, oh shit, I put this on and stuck around to the end, because you, my friend, are a winner if you were able to do that. So with that being said, episode 10 in the books of The BA Show, featuring the homie Glocky Dangerously this evening, the producer, as always, the wise man to all, Sean the homie. With that being said, Sean, where can the people find you?
I don't even want to be associated with this episode, man, so y'all just gonna have to guess at this point. Retro back to old episodes, or just let me book, tags me and shit. And so but nah, for real though, it's always the same fourth row, man. I appreciate it. Little bad taste in my mouth after this Vince Russo booking WCW 2000s era shit show, but hopefully we'll have something a little better next couple of weeks to kind of wash this shit out of the our mouths.
I think it's needed. This is different for the BA show. We've talked about some kind of bad shows. It's probably one of the worst shows we've talked about. And these are we don't want to talk about these types of shows back to back. To your point, we don't want to do that to the people.
Yeah,
we don't do that to ourselves. Let alone to them. So with that being said, as far as where you can find me, y'all know y'all cannot find me individually anywhere. BA has no social media. He is incognito out here, almost a decade strong. But y'all know you can find me on these airwaves talking with the fellas every Friday. A-Dub, the Tribal Pod Chief. E-Ray, the American Cream, Brody Loads on Let Me Book the Territory, the greatest, most influential podcast out today. Every Friday, you can check us out there. We are going to have a jam-packed episode this weekend. From this past weekend, present day went to visit the illustrious city, Dub's hometown of Detroit. Partook in all the SummerSlam festivities, connected with other podcasts, talked to all the people. So much content. We literally have hundreds of videos and photos saved on an album waiting to share with the world. But we want to do it in a special way. So stay tuned for a lot of special content to drop on that front. On our socials, at Let Me Book Pod, everything. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, mostly Instagram and Twitter. We don't do the Facebook often, but definitely catch us there. Let us, oh yeah, you already know. At letmebookpod.com. That's where it all funnels through. You will get, if you don't already follow us on IG, we have our great feed there. We just updated our logos. You actually can see us in caricature form now, giving y'all the comedic versions of us. Soon to be, we gonna get the wise man in caricature form. Tying it all together, man. We're growing up as a podcast. Mom and dad are letting the kids out of the house for once. By themselves, and boy, oh boy, I feel bad for the world because we was wilding this past weekend. Let me tell you, if this wasn't Detroit, we'd probably been kicked out of most cities and establishments. The way we were joking and laughing and acting a fool, but can't wait to show y'all more of that. And then as always, y'all already know, y'all can find this show every other Wednesday until we get into our deep dive months. Won't be happening for a couple more months, but stay tuned. Y'all be cool. And as Sean said, I can almost promise you what we talk about next episode will not be as hard to choke down, pause, as this just was. So with all that being said, in the words of the illustrious modern day poet, Sean Jay-Z Carter, may the best of your todays be the worst of your tomorrows. Let the madness wash over you, and everything is wrestling. Peace out.